new devs just getting started in Web3, you know, Web3, especially EVM, has so many good tools. The first one of these office hours we did, we went over like the Remix tools, like the Remix web-based IDE. Obviously now I'm starting on the second office hours we did last time. I started using my real IDE. I'm a little more comfortable. I like it more. I prefer it. But just jumping in, depends on how people learn. I mean, Nathan here is, a computer science graduate, and I'm self-taught. So I think everybody learns in a different way. I'm the biggest supporter of just jumping in hands-on, like finding a use case, finding something simple you want to do, which is kind of what we're doing here, just coming up with, even though this isn't a product, this isn't an app, it's not something we're like planning to release, but just having use cases and trying to work through them, and just getting familiar with like how to do it hands-on while you actually learn the technology, jumping from the documentation to some simple example that you can touch and feel. And I really love to say one of my favorite, I like analogies a lot personally. Nathan's probably heard me with more than one, but I like to imagine like a race car you're building. You don't want to necessarily build the whole race car and then like go try to drive it on the track in a race, right? You want to get the engine on the bench and like get the wires where you can touch them and see a spark and hear it turn over even before you hook it up to the gas tank, right? Like you want to, like, for me, I try to as quickly as I can get the wires to touch. I want to see the sparks as soon as possible, and I want to see that something works. And then once I have something that works, I find I can add things to it and make sure it still works. And then if that one thing I added doesn't, now the sparks aren't sparking, then I go back, okay, the one thing I just did is what actually broke it. And getting very early to be able to find a loop so that you can quickly iterate and constantly be running what you're trying to build, is going to be, in my opinion, how, it also gives you that excitement, like, oh, it works. Like, oh, now this new thing works. Oh, I added this other feature. It still works. Like, it keeps you excited about actually building something cool that's working. But it also gives you that kind of opportunity to identify when things stop working and, easily roll back the one thing you changed, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? We have the test, we have the contract, we're adding one function at a time, and, just getting your hands dirty on it and learning all the different, new things there are in Web3 is fun in itself. Following tutorials, there's a lot of really great tutorials for EVM, and just trying to build stuff and reading other people's code. That's the other great thing about Web3. It's all very open source and public. A lot of development's done in public, so you can just watch, on GitHub as people do stuff. So,
yeah, I think that perspective is super helpful and kind of helps you not get as discouraged along the way, because it's daunting and there's a lot to learn and go over. But starting small and building on what you know slowly is a lot more rewarding way to go about it. So that was great.
Yeah, I find myself reading documentation, but if I read too much documentation, like you quickly start to feel out of touch. Like you're like, wait, I lost it. Like I didn't apply what I learned in the first page of the documentation, so the second page doesn't make as much sense. So like having like something to follow along with, like hands-on while you're going through it, helps you feel like more in touch with like what you're reading about. Even when you're taking that, read about it first approach. It's and it depends on how people learn. I think there's definitely people that learn just by reading a whole book before they ever touch it, so whatever you're comfortable with, but there's immense resources out there for it.